DaVinci Resolve 21 is in public beta now, so it's available to download, and there's a whole slew of new tools that they've got in there, and a lot of them actually, and what we're going to be focusing on this video, are to do with face refinement. Now, they already had the face refinement tool in there, but we now have a couple of other tools as well, which are all to do with changing people's face. And the first one that I'm going to look at is the Face Age Transform. Now, I didn't feel like it was fair to drop this plug-in onto any of the lovely people that I've been working with, because it's going to be doing all kinds of funky stuff to them. So yeah, I've shot some test footage of myself. Apologies, you're going to be looking at me a lot in this video. Now, this is going to work a little bit like the face refinement already does. So it's going to detect the face to start with, and then we're just going to track forwards, and it's going to track all of the details on the face, analyze it, kind of solve where that face is within the shot. And once it has done that, you'll be able to apply the age shift. Now, the age shift is interesting because you have to tell it what age your subject is. So you can see the slide just here is currently set to 30. I'm gonna have to push that up a little bit. And then you can do an age offset where you actually bring that person's age down a couple of years or bring it up a couple of years or quite a few years. So now we have this solved. I'm going to be able to turn off the overlay and then change the subject age to 43, who would have guessed it, and then I can actually start to manipulate that age. Now I'm going to zoom in a little bit on my face just here, and in fact let's take that out and move this over so we have just the maximum face to see what's going to go on. And then I'm just going to start to, let's go up first of all, horrifying. Okay, we've offset my age 50 years, and well, if I look at 93, maybe that isn't bad for a 93-year-old. What I've done here with my test shot, I should also say, is light it fairly evenly so that we can really see what the plugin's doing. I do have a few test shots later on where I've done slightly different lighting coming in from the side, just as a quick way of looking at how this actually works in practice. Now, I'm going to play this clip back, and like I say, this is with my glasses on, and this is kind of horrifying. Don't know if I like this. I've got this playing in a 4K timeline, and the footage I'm using is from the Picture 6K, not the 12K actually, because I've got the autofocus lens on, so I'm using that for this kind of setup here. So yeah, this is 6K footage, open gate, and playing back in a 4K timeline. And we're getting about 8 frames a second playback. For those who are still interested in the M5 Max specs on this, that's 6 to 8 frames a couple of times just there with the Picture 6K footage in a 4K timeline. Now, what I would say is we'll get quicker playback if I drop that timeline down to 1080 and play that back. And I'm going to do that for the rest of this video, just have it 1080, just so you can see it a little bit more speedily. We're only gaining maybe a frame or two a second. Interestingly with this, it's not taking it up a huge amount. Okay, it's doing a reasonable job of accommodating my glasses in this. Going to full screen this for a second. And you can see in there, it's like added texture and wrinkles into the skin. It's done a lot around the eyes. I feel like my eyelids around the sort of part where the eyelid meets the eye, it's reddened it somewhat, and it's really added in bags, added some wrinkles to my forehead just there. It has, I think, lightened some of the hair around my beard. I was interested to see what it does with the beard with this, because, you know, obviously when you're looking at this kind of plugin, it's going to age skin, but is it going to do anything to hair? Is it going to do anything to any of the other features around like eyelashes and eyebrows? And it doesn't seem to have done an awful lot, but what I'm going to do now is just jump back in and go to the beginning of that clip, and I'm going to A/B it on and off so you can see what it's done. So there's a few things that I can instantly see that are happening just here. For a start, it's pushed my eyes a bit further open. It's definitely added in more bags. It's lightened up, actually, now I can see this. It's really lightened up the hair on my eyebrows and also on my beard just there, which hasn't really had the effect of making it look grey. It just looks a little bit more ginger. I have ginger in my beard, you know, what am I going to do? I have Irish heritage in there on my grandfather's side. So yeah, that is interesting to see. And then if we look just around my ears, we can see it does change the shape of the ear somewhat, and also the nose. there's a little change happening around the nose and deepening of the line around here. So that is what is going on. I'm going to jump to the next clip actually where I don't have the glasses on and just add that on and quickly do the detect face and track. Tracking is way quicker actually. In the 1080 we're at 29 frames a second. This is a 30 frames per second clip actually, so I can sync with my TV behind me. Put that back to 43 and then dial that up to 50, which is the maximum. And then what I'm going to do, because we can see, you know, what it's doing just here, and what is going to be interesting is when we turn to the side just here, it's changing the ear. Now, it hasn't really managed to grab on fully around, I don't think, to what's going on the side just here, but it has pulled down my earlobe a little bit, and it feels like it's lightened up some of the area around here, added maybe a little bit more pink into it, and maybe extended out the ear in the center a little bit as well. And that's kind of what you see when people get older, men especially, they tend to have bigger ears because ears and noses tend to keep growing as you get older and older. So they will be a little bit bigger, a little bit more prominent within your feature set. We've done the bad side. We've done looking at what Dale looks like when he's old. Let's take it down and let's just take 10 years off. Let's make me 33 rather than 43. And here, you can see everything looks much smoother. Obviously, by comparison to the 50 plus, it's going to be way, way smoother, even just normally. And then just changing that on and off. Interestingly, we see a slight darkening of the eyebrows for the 10 years younger version, lightening of the bags under my eyes ever so slightly, making them a little bit less prominent, making them a little bit smoother. It's doing something to my lips. I feel like it's just plumping them out a little bit and lightening them, maybe? Yeah, and it seems to be lightening the whole area around my mouth just there. As for ears, I don't know if it's actually going to do much to my ears. Let's see. No, it doesn't really seem like it. On the side of my face, skin texture is smoothed down. So this feels a little bit more like what face refinement was doing previously, you know, giving everything a little bit of lift, rejuvenating skin a little bit, smoothing it off, taking some of the texture out, tastefully so, hopefully, and then also dealing with like bags under the eyes and that kind of thing. Feels like maybe there's a little bit of eye brightening and eyebrow darkening going on as well within this particular clip. I'm just going to full screen that one more time. Yeah, and the forehead is getting a little bit of smooth on, so relatively chill. Nothing is going to jump out as particularly egregious, I think, in that particular scenario just there. And this is all very well lit. It's all very even. So we're really giving this plugin kind of the best scenario to work with, but we're also going to see the most of what it's doing, you know, without any light occluding it. Let's go crazy. Let's take it down 50 years. This, it has really popped my eyes, a lot more color in my eyes just there. I can instantly see the like aqua feeling at the moment. And then beard is gone. I guess, you know, babies don't have beards. It's really smoothed the skin. It has smoothed the skin. It seems to have plumped everything out a little bit. Has it shrunk the nose? I don't know. Ears smoothed as well. Yeah. I don't think that the youth filter just there at that extreme is as convincing as the old filter, if that makes sense. I think that the smoothness and everything, it just feels weird. The scale of someone's head, trying to take him down that far in age, I mean, it could be an effect. It could be something that people put on because they like the look of it, but I don't think it looks convincing in a de-aging sense. So as with these things, you probably expect it is going to work best. It's going to be the most convincing when we're actually dealing with this in a sensible range, you know, just trying to push it a couple of years down, you know. I would say for me, that's interesting actually, you can see it really pushing out the pupils there as I move it around. It kind of pushes them, adds a lot more color in. Yeah, so maybe just the color is overhyped and the smoothness is overhyped. And it does shrink the nose up a little bit, it seems, although not much. When you push it the other way, I'm not going to say that's convincing, but it feels more like it's aged me there versus the de-age just kind of smudging me. Okay, now what I'm curious about is when we put the subject age in, we can do whatever we want. So if we said the subject age was 10, and then we did plus 50, we get a rather different result. And goodness, I don't know. That is, I kind of look like, I don't know, Rasputin might in a film, like a little bit evil and dark and like menacing. Yeah, that's curious. So I would say, jumping into this plugin, maybe when you're looking at this, don't take the subject age as a definite thing. You know, whatever the age of the subject is, just dialing that up and down might actually get you a more pleasing result than just taking it to the literal. So I've said subject age 10 there. As I dial it up, we see the eye shape change. We see the amount of grey change. And you might say that that's because you're saying subject age 10 and then you're offsetting it by 50. I don't quite know what it's doing under the hood here. It's just, you know, sliders that we get to work with. So whilst if I'm 80 and I'm offsetting it by 50, it's really not doing anything. In fact, yeah, it's doing nothing when I say my age is already 80. If I take the age down to 66 and offset it by 50, it's doing a bit. Yeah, it does a real big jump when we start to go below 37. It shrinks the eyes down and maybe, again, feels sort of more convincing. It keeps a little bit more of maybe a natural eye color in there that isn't too crazy and too pink. Could work just for gritting people up a little bit, and it could work as a quick way of doing like face refinement, you know, just putting this on and then dialing the age down. If you just want a single slider solution, don't want to deal with all of the rest of the things, then this could be a way of just beautifying your footage. Now, I do have a couple of other shots, and I don't know how interested everyone is in this particular plugin, but I've got a closer up shot, going to bring this age transform on, detect the face, and then just whiz this over the top. Now, it's interesting here because we've got the out of focus area behind as well. It's kind of giving it a neater cutoff kind of behind the face where the plugin is going to have a harder time perhaps, you know, wrapping around. So that could help you on this kind of close-up shot where you got a lot out of focus. Texture on the skin seems to be mapped really convincingly. Like around my eyes, you can see moving. I'd be interested to see how this interacts like with a couple of people in shot, and you know, if someone is smooshing a face or punching a face, how that would work as well if you were thinking of using it in a film context. Now, the last thing we want to do with this particular plugin is see how it deals with a little bit of side light. So again, just going to whiz this through, detect the faces. Will be interesting as well in a narrative scenario where we perhaps are dealing with higher contrast ratios to see what this can do. Because obviously there's some lightening of areas going on there within the plugin as well. So maybe doing this and then having a relight over the top, bringing the side of the face back down, that kind of thing could actually yield some pretty convincing results. So the other plugins that have been announced are to do with face as well. Face reshaper, same, detecting faces. You will notice here actually is a little bit different because on the face refinement previously, it had kind of had that net which goes over your face. Here, it's showing a sequence of dots. I don't know if that is anything different under the hood or if that has now changed for the face refinement as well, but it's just curious, you know, that just caught my eye. So looking at the, first of all, size, can have a little bit of... This reminds me of when Photoshop kind of stuff first came out, like K's Power Goo and that kind of thing, where you could just do crazy stuff to faces and everyone just immediately obviously got all their friends, wall-smothed them, and had a bit of fun with that. Okay, all right. Why the long face? Cheek position. Ugh. Chin. Yeah, sure. Let's just do all of this. As it's doing this, it's it is pinching in my clothing as well, and is grabbing my beard. Let's give me a, big forehead. Okay, and then let's just play this back. Now, what's going to be interesting is as I move around, oh yeah, it's doing funky things. You can see the effect sliding a little bit there. I've taken it to the absolute extreme. And it's pinching in different things that are around me, like the screen behind, my collar, that kind of stuff is all getting affected by this. My beard, as I'm moving around, it doesn't quite know what to do with that. Now, I have taken this far too far. Let's reset all of those and do something perhaps a little bit more subtle. So we're going to say, I want to change the size of my face a little bit, and I want to make it just a little bit smaller and a little bit narrower, just there. I'm not going to change anything else at the moment there. I'm going to change the size of my eyes, and ooh, this could get funky as I turn my head, like that, and then just a bit more separation. Oh, you can move the eye bags as well. Look at that, weird. Nose. Yeah, let's give me a slightly smaller nose, slightly narrower nose, and mouth I think is going to do weird things because of, my moustache and beard. If you're not the facially furnished, this might work well for you, but for me, I think anything with my mouth is going to look a little bit weird because it's going to grab quite a lot of hair as well. And eyebrow position, ooh, we can make it look a little bit surprised, and we can force it apart a little bit. Okay, I've done quite a lot just there. As I'm moving around, it does strange things as the eyes go kind of sideways. I go a little bit Picasso, but head on, just looking to camera, it's doing a really decent job of kind of grabbing onto this and staying in position. I mean, even when I turn, it's staying locked onto my face, and you can't tell too much. Yeah, if you take it off, you can instantly see there's loads going on. And actually, looking at the background as well, it's doing a good job of integrating my head into the background around it as I'm moving around. It doesn't look crazy. I'm going to do one more thing with this, and that is there was this old PlayStation advert where the eyes on this girl were kind of really separate. Eye separation, eyebrow separation up. Eyes, where are you? Eye separation up. Yeah, there we go. Ooh, got a little bit Navi vibes here. Let's see, increase the width of my nose, increase the size of my nose. Yeah, there we go. That's a little bit bizarre and uncanny. It doesn't know what to do on the side because obviously it can't reconcile quite what's going on with the frontal view when the side view comes in, but it's doing a pretty good job on the frontal view. Yeah, I really don't like that. You could have tons of fun with this. I'm sure a lot of people will find interesting, funny, creative uses for all of these things. If you wanted to as well, you could probably just grab your skin and, take it. There we are. David Cameron, all he had to do was wait for DaVinci Resolve 21. He could have saved himself a ton of money and, released a film that at least would have made people laugh. Not a fan of Avatar. Controversial. Really don't dig those films. There's also a quick blemish removal tool. Now this, it is one slider. Is never going to be as good as going in and doing things in more detail. But if you do want to just throw something on and try to clean up a little bit of whatever is offending you about your face, then you can do that. It has taken out my beauty spots on the side of my face just there, and I feel like it's also taking out just a couple of variations in skin tone across my forehead. This is a shadow just here that it's taken out. Nothing else particularly down there that it's grabbed. Yeah, mostly just around my cheek and eye area, and then forehead. It has done all that. Now what will be interesting is because this has not tracked all the other plugins just there, we've actually had to solve where the face is, and it's done its thing, and then you can apply to various different parts of the face. This, you just put it on, put the slider up, I whacked it up to 100, and then hopefully it'll just work out where everything is and take it out. Now what it's probably doing is looking at skin tone and then detecting variances in the skin tone and then just smoothing those out. So rather than having to track, it's just applying it across the skin and seeing where the variances are. I'd be curious to see how this is actually working, whether it's like a tonal thing or whether it is just working out what color the skin is, and then I don't know if I'm explaining that right. I'd be curious if this is to do with how light or dark something is within your skin tone, the skin tone that it can see there. And I'd also be curious to see how it works on different lighting scenarios. But hey, that worked pretty well if I wanted to get rid of all the beauty spots on my face. Seems like nothing weird is happening. I'm sure lots of people are going to find this a very approachable plugin. And it does feel, interestingly, and I'm wrapping this video up now, that this is the way that Blackmagic are going with some of their plugins just here. We've got face refinement. You can go and you can do things in there and you can get really into the weeds with it. Also, if you don't want to, you could just use the blemish removal tool, and they do have just a skin smoother tool as well in there. So we've got to where it is beauty. So beauty and then the blemish removal, between those two things, you could probably do quite a lot of what your TikTok or Instagram filters would be doing for you. And I think what's interesting here is this is something that we're seeing on every single version of Resolve that's coming out now. There are more tools coming in that give you either greater levels of control or a much simpler interface to be able to achieve all of these different effects. And this is only expanding. So even looking at just this section, the Resolve FX Refine, just here, we have a lot of tools now that are there just to help you tweak faces, tweak skin, all of the rest of that kind of stuff, and at several different levels. And as Resolve adds in more tools, as we add in things like the photo function, more people are going to be jumping on board with this. So they do need to strike that balance of giving the people who are doing more complex work tools which are appropriate for them, whilst still enabling people who perhaps don't know the node structure, don't have that kind of technical background, to still use these plugins. And I think that, in combination with something like the list view they've added in just here, really helps people who are coming from programs where they don't have a node structure, where they have, like in Premiere, a list of plugins, and this view could become the default for some people who don't want to work in a complex node structure and they just want to bring in the tools like they would do in Premiere. That is now something that Resolve is offering. So probably going to drive greater adoption with these kind of quality of life tweaks that they're making. It's not massively affecting anything for people who are already using it as a professional tool, but it certainly does open the wider user base. Got any questions, thoughts, drop them down below. Anything else you want me to test? I'm going to look at some of the other plugins as well as the week goes on. I don't want to rush getting this out because I felt like each of these deserved a little bit of time, a little bit of thought. And the photo thing, that I'm definitely going to be looking at because I have edited photos in Resolve, guilty as charged, and now they've got that in there. That is actually going to be really useful for me because I'm way faster in Resolve than any other editing program.